All right, well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is our first Real Estate Wealth Network Strategy Lab. I'm your host. My name is Cameron Dunlap, and with me is my great friend, business partner, and the Chief Marketing Officer of our business, Mr. Josh Brown. Say hi to Josh.
Guys, how's it going? Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're real excited to bring this new sort of content resource to you that we brainstormed just the other night while we were talking about the impact of the coronavirus on our business, on your business, on my investing business, on every business, my hotel. And so we're here to, kind of provide you with a place to come and spend time and be part of a community where we all share together and learn together and come through this together stronger than we ever imagined. And so I'm really excited that you've decided to join us here. And clearly we are live on Facebook, and that's exciting. And today is Thursday, March 26th. So as we're going through this, I'd appreciate you putting in your comments, like the video, whatever you feel comfortable doing. We're looking for your engagement, so please do provide that if you'd be willing. And if you've been paying attention to your email and you're on our email list, then you know that we set up a special email. It's comments, plural, comments at realestatewealthnetwork.com. Kind of a long email address, but easy enough to keep in your mind. Comments at realestatewealthnetwork.com for you to send in your questions and comments that we will then sift through and address here on this strategy lab. And we've done that. Now we got a lot of comments, and we thank you all for those. Now, I will say, if we don't get to your comment or question, if we don't address it, please don't take that personally. It means we didn't have time, or we may respond to you personally depending on the nature of your comment or question. But either way, please don't take it personal if we don't get to your question. And what Josh did a nice job of was he sort of aggregated them, and we kind of saw where several people were asking similar things, or several people making the same comment or a similar comment. So we kind of looked to address those in particular, because then we could address many of you at once.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, Cam, to reiterate your point, I was super happy that you asked me to be on here and host one of these strategy labs, because I really do believe it's important that we're able to connect with the folks that we have on our list and within our business and within our programs, and make ourselves available to answer questions, because the truth is, right now, more than ever, we're in this together. And, I personally am excited to be able to help you guys get the answers to your questions so you continue to move forward. Now, as we're all hunkered down, now is not a time to put our head in the sand. It's a time to prepare and try to get a full understanding of what's going on and get ready for the opportunity that's coming on the other side of this wave. So I'm excited to be here and excited to help as many people as we can.
So how many of you guys are in states where you have mandatory stay-at-home orders? Put that in your comments. I'm in New York, and I have to stay at home. Now, I'm not exactly at home right now, but I'm at an extension of my home, which is my man cave car barn place, where I have, obviously I've got this set up here. And so if anybody were to accuse me of not staying home, I'd say, well, this is my garage. And so, but we are supposed to stay at home here in New York. And you're technically not supposed to leave your house unless you're, doing some essential need, like going to the doctor, the pharmacy, the grocery store, or stuff like that. And it's been a little tough. And you guys that are under the same sort of thing, you get it. I mean, I'm a social animal. I thrive on camaraderie, and I have a lot of friends around here. We hang out and we do happy hours and stuff. And right now we can't, and it's hard as heck. But being the sort of techie guy I am, I brought Zoom, Zoom.us to my friends, and I've got some guys that aren't particularly technically savvy coming on Zoom meetings. And so we did one the other night where we had a little Zoom cocktail hour, and it was fun as heck. Now, it wasn't quite the same as being in the same room, but it was a close second. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, Josh, you're in South Carolina down there. You're allowed to, do whatever you want, clearly.
We are not fully on lockdown yet, but the governor has asked us not to get in groups larger than 3 outside of our house. So my family, at least, and most of our neighborhood is doing their part to just stay away from people, stay indoors, but or at least 6 to 10 feet away, or whatever the rule is. But we're doing our best, and I feel for a lot of people who are in states where it's totally shut down. I get it; it's tough, but like you just did, you found a way around. You were missing the one-on-one connection with people and the happy hour environment. You used a simple piece of software that cost you all of nothing to set up maybe 5 minutes of explaining it to a friend who doesn't understand how to use it, and boom, now you can at least laugh together, share that cocktail, even if it's not in person. So that's really cool. I did the same thing last night. I don't smoke cigars often, but I had a friend who was like, "Hey, you want to smoke a cigar?" from Dallas, Texas, and we did it over FaceTime together for an hour, and
Nice.
that was pretty cool. So same experience for me, and it was really nice to be able to talk to people in this time.
Can you have more than 2 people on a FaceTime? I'm not. You can.
I don't think you can get as many as a Zoom call will do, dozens, but
Right.
FaceTime will do a few.
So we set my mom up on Zoom. So now we have a way for my family to come together.
That's cool.
And, when we might or not otherwise. And so now it's real simple. You just, turn on your computer and log into Zoom, and boom, there's your whole family right in front of you, from wherever they may be. And I think that one of the points that's coming out of this that you may have picked up on or thought of already is that as a society, we are changing rapidly right now in how we behave and the way we go about doing our normal things. And some of those we can't do, or some of them we have to find another way to do. And so this is really my fourth big, sort of crisis that I've been through. I've been through the housing crash and the big recession in the early 90s. I've been through 9/11. I've been through 2008, and now this. And what I can tell you is after every one of those tough periods came a couple of things, really, probably way more, but 2 particular things that come to mind. One is enormous opportunity on the backside of it. Okay. So a sort of a micro example would be, a hurricane in Florida, the area that is damaged. It's horrible. And it's, everybody's disrupted, and maybe some people get hurt, and that's awful. And on the backside of that same community experiences a massive economic boom. It always happens. And so now on a macro level, we're talking about this on a national and probably worldwide level. I know on the backside of this, there's going to be a huge, huge boom. And the other thing, 2 things, right? The other is there are some things that change during those periods, this period, that will never change back. So there are things that we're going to experience. There are businesses that aren't going to survive because they got squeezed out. I think the grocery business is one that we should watch. I think that will be wildly disrupted by this, and that on the other side, it may be very different than it used to be. Prediction. And so, out of this comes not only a big economic boom on the backside, but the opportunity that feeds, and the opportunities that come as a result of the changes that we make, and then the opportunities that creates. So look, decide. I said this in my video the other day, maybe you've seen it, it's on the blog. I said, clearly decide what you intend to focus on. If you want to focus on the fear and what's bad about what's going on, your mind will find that and fill your mind with it. However, if you choose to focus on the good and the opportunity and the change and all of that will come from this, your mind will focus on that, and it will find it. It's kind of like the movie The Secret. What you think about is what you experience. So choose carefully what you think about.
Yep, totally agree. I think an example of that, in terms of sort of what we're going through now and the experiences we're having now, is going to shape what businesses might look like after this whole process. The virtual thing, a lot of companies are being forced to virtual that weren't. And my prediction is that many companies are going to continue the virtual thing afterwards. Maybe not with all employees, but I think they're going to go, oh, so we can still survive virtual. Maybe we start experiencing that more. And I think for investors who are either in the business now or getting in the business are going to learn how to do things virtually, because guess what, guys, we have to right and you're going to use that muscle that you're now flexing for the next few weeks or however long. We have to really focus on the virtual side. You're going to be flexing it a lot. So when things go back to normal, uh, you're going to be stronger in the areas that you may have never tried to develop before because you weren't forced to go virtual. So that's definitely an outcome that I think will end up probably benefiting a lot of people, especially in the real estate world.
I think so. And you know what? Listen, you know this, Josh. For at least the last 10 years, I've been pushing the whole idea of expanding or scaling into other markets than just your backyard, and literally have built our tech business, this business that we're coming to you from right now, Real Estate Wealth Network. I've literally built the business and all of the tools and the problem solving tools that we've created around that concept of working outside of your backyard and to the extent you're able and willing, doing it virtually. So we've been, frankly, and I'm a little reluctant to use the word, but we've been enabling that for 10 years. And now here we are in a place where many of us are going to be forced to do that. And the good news is you're in an environment with us. You're part of the family by being here, where what you need was pre-designed for this. Not because I knew this was coming, but just because I knew that working virtually was the wave of the future. So
I think that's a great point. And also, just to point out, we didn't go make some quick tweak to make the systems work virtually. They were built from ground up that way. And that's just something I want to point out, because I'm seeing a lot of folks change one word of what they're doing out there, and it can be confusing as a investor. What should I do? Who should I listen to? Where should I go for help? So as guys who've been around this block for a long time, Cam for way longer than myself, it does comfort me to know that our tools were built from the ground up so that people can invest outside of their marketplace without ever having to step foot into their markets. So that's a powerful thing.
All right. So we've gotten a lot of questions and comments that we're going to dig into here. And one quick, just a little housekeeping before we do that. We are live on Facebook as you're watching this now. Please don't hesitate to comment and, engage with us here on Facebook. And I'll be seeing that to the extent that I'm able to pay attention to it. But also, if you happen to have missed this live Facebook or this Facebook Live, and you're watching this on our blog, I would encourage you to put your comments in there as well. We're interested in your feedback, so please do that. All right, I'll kick this off. I'll start, Josh, and then Josh has got some of the questions from the list that he's going to address and some that I'm going to address. And by the way, one other thing I just thought of. If you are part of the my inner circle, Cameron's inner circle, or I should say you attend the Deal Maker webinars that I do on the first and third Tuesdays of the month. I've been doing that for, dare I say, 16, 17 years. Those will continue. This is an augmentation of that, where we're basically doing this with the whole list, with our entire family, if you will, as opposed to those closer members of the family. And we're going to continue to do these strategy labs while this whole coronavirus thing is going on. And then once that's behind us, which clearly is coming, who knows when, we'll wind this down, and then and I'll continue to do the Deal Maker webinars just like I always do, but we'll wind this down, and then we'll go back to those Deal Maker webinars as my sort of normal way of doing this. So, all right, there. Got a question here from Brad. It says, is real estate too risky for a new person like me to get into because of the coronavirus? Look, if, you're going to believe, and Brad, I appreciate your question. You're going to believe whatever you decide to believe. You're going to focus on whatever you decide to focus on, but you're clearly asking my opinion, and I'm happy to give it to you. No. Is real estate too risky to get involved with if you're new because of the coronavirus? No. In fact, I would say to you the exact opposite. I would say because of this, it's the best time to get involved if you're new. Look, when there is a wildfire, a forest is on fire, the weak and the incapable get destroyed. And what I'm seeing right now in the marketplace is an enormous amount of your competition fleeing this environment. Don't be one of them. Be a contrarian thinker. When everybody's running one way, go the other. And that, as an entrepreneur now for 27 years, has served me so well. I live by that. Be a contrarian thinker. Listen, I came into this business in 1993. You could argue that was probably about the worst time possible. But what I found was amazing, and I blossomed as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Cam, to that end, in a marketing sense, I always think about this, and people are always like, I'm in a competitive market. Should I just leave it, or isn't marketing a waste of time in a competitive market? And the reason that people say that is because the more competition you have, the louder it is in a market in terms of marketing. There's so many people saying, let me buy your house, that you get drowned out in the voice of people, or in a sea of people. But to your point, a lot of folks have pulled back right now just because they're letting fear control what they think, and they're just stopping and going, oh no, what's going to happen? Well, if you're new, that opens a door of opportunity for you. Get on the phone, start calling sellers, because guess what? They're not going to be telling you things like, I've heard from 7 other people this week trying to buy my house, because those 7 other people are sitting at home scared, not sure what they're going to do, letting fear control them. This is going to end. We all know this is going to end. So start building the relationships, getting on the phone with those sellers now. Take advantage of the opportunity. Don't let it scare you away.
And you know what? It's not unusual for it to take weeks, if not months, before a seller comes around and says yes to you. Right. And your willingness to be that person, that voice of reason, that the person who's willing to follow up and be a friend is the one they're going to sell to.
Sure.
So the power is in the follow-up, and this has been true forever. But if a seller says no to you, what they really mean is maybe just please follow up with me every month until I tell you to quit it, because eventually I'm going to decide to sell this house, and whoever I like the most and is most top of mind at that moment I'm going to sell it to. And you want that to be you. Most of your competitors are reeling in their marketing efforts. That is a very common reaction to a downturn like this. People reel back their marketing efforts. And that is in my opinion, that's a mistake. You should be ramping yours up right now. Yeah. Because leads are cheaper. And to Josh's point, they're not hearing from your competitors. And so you're likely to be the one that they learn to like and is top of mind when they make that decision.
Absolutely.
All right. So I got another one here from Valerie. Valerie, I hope you're on with us. This one's kind of specific. I pre-read it and I have an answer for you. This one will be pretty quick. How can Mid-America Mortgage, I'm going to paraphrase it. The way I understand what Valerie has written is her mortgage company sold her loan on a house. I don't know if it's her personal residence or not. And apparently somehow stopped paying her insurance premium, even though Valerie's insurance is escrowed. And there was a strange electrical fire 9 weeks ago. And apparently she's finding herself without coverage because the new lender who bought the loan neglected to pay for the insurance. My advice to you, Valerie, in 2 words, lawyer up. That's what you need to do. You need to talk to an attorney and you need to go after that lender, presuming I understand your question correctly. And I'm sorry that that's happened, but you might like the result. Lawyer up.
I've got one here.
Go for it.
This one's from John. He wrote in and said, I have a property under contract right now. I'm about to start direct mail to cash buyers. Should I start marketing people at multiple purchases or to LLCs? Any advice would be awesome. And I would say awesome. I mean, getting the contract is a great first step. And now finding the buyers is really important. If you have access to cash buyers, whether through the cash buyer data feed, which is one of our tools, or your own list of cash buyers, going after buyers that have proven to purchase multiple properties over a period of time, in my opinion, has always been a good place to start. It's not the only people I would focus on, But if I had limited time and limited dollars, of course, I want to focus on the people that seem to be the most active. I'd start contacting them immediately. And, you might be thinking like, our cash buyers still going to be out buying right now? I've heard some questions relate to if cash buyers can't walk through the house, are they still going to be able to make me an offer on them? And you're right. Maybe they can't get out there. But here's what I'm finding. Most of the houses that we get under contract are vacant. A lot of them are vacant. And if they're vacant, someone can go walk through a vacant house without running into somebody or staying 6 feet away. People can still walk through houses without touching anything. They can put gloves on, wear masks if they had to. But you could also start the conversation now. Send them pictures, send them everything they need, and just address the elephant in the room. Obviously, we know that it's going to be a couple days for you to get out there, or we're going to have to work on the process for you to see the house because of the situation. What I want everyone to remember out there is we're all in this together. Everyone in the whole world, but America specifically right now, is experiencing this I'm not allowed to leave my house world. So it's not like someone else is going to get to that cash buyer and get them out to their house before yours. But you do want to start contacting them, because you can start taking tentative offers. You can, line up for them to just get out there the second you're allowed to leave the house. Cam, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that one, but I think, yeah, absolutely start right away. And going after people who've made multiple purchases is a great strategy.
Absolutely. No doubt. But what that did trigger is a couple of things that I've heard about. So for example, yesterday I was talking to a friend here in New York who's a realtor, and apparently Comrade Cuomo has decided that realtors may not cold call sellers or potential sellers until the fall, September, October, something like that. What? So wait a minute. Realtors aren't allowed to cold call sellers.
Wow.
We still are. How
Yeah.
about that? Now, and also in New York, real estate transactions have basically been put on hold. And that's not good for buyers and sellers. However, I think it's amazing for investors, because what it's going to do is put people into disarray. Those that were motivated to sell are going to be extraordinarily even more motivated to sell. So I think I'm looking for the silver lining on everything. Now I have a house under contract right now to sell in Florida, and that is to an end user. It's one of my rental properties. I've been slowly liquidating my entire portfolio of real estate, except the hotel and my personal residences, for about 18 months. And this is an FHA buyer that's putting very little down. There's a 3% seller concession, so I'm basically covering their closing costs. It's coming out of my side of the transaction. And I've been in contact with the lender. I've been in contact with both the realtors, my agent, the buyer's agent, and the transaction's moving forward beautifully. The buyers are psyched because their rate is lower now than it was when we initially went under contract, and they had their loan approval prior to that. But it's the market, or the environment for end user buyers is actually improving as we speak with mortgage rates. Now they did go up a little end of last week, I think, but still they're, as low as I think they may ever get. So eventually there's going to be a refi boom, and end user buyers or you in anything you're looking to finance are going to find that the rates are very, very favorable. I realize that's a little departure from the specific question, but just a couple thoughts that popped into my mind.
Oh yeah.
There'll be many others. Here's one from Luz, L-U-Z. What is our new cash buy formula? So, look, we've been using the same formula forever, and it's after repair value times 70% minus repairs equals what you can reasonably expect to sell it for to an investor buyer, like a rehabber or a landlord. If we're wholesaling the house, we're gonna change the formula slightly. It's after repair value times 0.65 or 65% minus repairs is what our maximum purchase price is. And what Luz is asking is, what's the new formula? There isn't one. It doesn't change ever, and hasn't for me for 27 years. What the formula doesn't change. What does change is the after repair value, And in some cases, depending on, time, passage of time, inflation and whatnot, the cost of repairs. Those both impact how much we can pay, what our maximum purchase price is, certainly. So for example, if a house is worth $200,000 right now, and I'm trying to figure out the most I can pay for it as a wholesaler, 200 times 0.65 is 130. All right. Minus 20,000 in repairs is 110. There's the most we can pay for that. All right. 200,000 times 0.65 is 130. Minus 20,000 in repairs is 110. Well, what's happening now, I think, is likely, I don't know for sure, but if history repeats itself, which it usually does, we're eventually, and it may take 6, 8, 12 months, maybe a little longer, we're going to start to see prices decline. And that'll generally, and what'll lead to that is sellers who are in denial and hold on to their prices, and buyers who refuse to pay them. And then there'll be sellers who get more realistic and lower their price, and eventually the ones that are unrealistic will follow. And this is history repeating itself. And so, Luz, what happens is now that $200,000 house is worth 150. The formula is the same. 150 times 0.65, that's not as easy. 65 and 3250 is 90, about 100 grand. Okay, minus the 20,000 is 80. So now instead of paying 110 for it, we pay 80. And what changed is not the formula; it's the after repair value.
Yeah.
The formula never changes. I'm glad you asked that. The formula never changes. Now you might say, well, you can't buy houses for that in my market. Well, that's going to change. And by the way, I'm not sure I believe that anyway. But listen, if you live in a super competitive market, you're about to see things change. Look, I've been in the business and I've watched so real estate is cyclical. And think of if you're looking at a grandfather clock, the pendulum that swings back and forth, right? Same thing, only over a much longer period of time. In real estate, the pendulum swings back and forth. And we basically go from, oh my gosh, motivated sellers are so hard to find and there's so much competition, to, oh my gosh, I could buy 100 houses today if I could just find the buyer.
Yeah.
Those are the two ends of where the pendulum swings, right? Well, for the last couple of years, we've been over here where motivated sellers and deals have been tough because sellers are holding out for their price and there's a ton of competition in many markets. And then now I would submit to you that the pendulum that's been stuck on that stop for at least several years is now just come off the stop and is going to start swinging the other way. So here's my prediction. 24 months from now, maybe less, 18, I don't know, months from now, I'm going to hear from you guys. The drum beat will be, we can't find buyers. We can't find buyers. And that will be the problem you look to me to help you solve.
Yep.
And
we can do it.
I'm not trying to make light of it, but I've been here and done this. Go ahead.
The other thing is you can make money in both markets. And that's one thing
Absolutely.
people understand. Like, it's not bad that it's a buyer's market. It's not bad that it's a seller's market. There's different ways to make yourself successful in both. And, luckily Cam's made money in both times, that the last 4 times it's come around. So a lot of experience.
We adjust our strategy to fit the market that is at our feet. And knowing that market is always going to change. So we adjust our strategies. And I'll tell you, what I have found is the greatest opportunity is not when the pendulum is on the stop where sellers are impossible to find, and not where the pendulum's against the stop where buyers are impossible to find. It's in the space between. That's where the greatest opportunity is.
Which is what we're entering into now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
While that pendulum is in motion, presents the greatest opportunity, because you've got sellers that are willing to sell at your price, and you still got plenty of buyers to sell to because they're hungry. And it might be that what you find too, as our strategy shifts, is you sell to fewer rehabbers that are rehabbing for retail, and you sell more to landlords who are rehabbing for rental. Because what generally follows a big crash or big, debacle like this is, big joblessness and people lose their homes and they have to rent. That's, well, we're going to come back to that conversation for another time, but let's move on. Josh, you got one there you want to do?
I do, yeah. This one's from Johnny. He asks, is there a script to follow when cold calling owners about a property that I wish to buy? And the answer to that is yes. There are millions of scripts that you can use. Essentially, I want to talk first. If Johnny, I can't see based on your email if you're a member of any of our tools or software platforms. If you're a member of the Motivated Seller Data Feed, iFlip, Cash Buyer, Private Lender Data Feed, any of those, inside the marketing tab of all those tools are multiple scripts that help you when talking to either private owners or bank sellers, and so there's your sort of fast way to get to those scripts. But I also want to point out a couple things. If you aren't a member of those tools and you don't plan on being a member for any reason, a couple things I want to point out. One, the biggest mistake you can ever make when talking to a motivated seller is to say, I know you're motivated and I know why. So you don't ever want to point out, hey, I saw you on a vacant house list and I know that you must be tired of that vacant house. How do we know that's a bad thing to do? I've done it. And I got fire comes out of the phone into your ear when you do that. It's not good. So that's the first thing, is you don't ever want to show your cards. What's the saying I hear you say sometimes, Cam? The tactic known as a tactic blown. Yeah. You don't want to reveal that. You want to say, I'm buying houses in your area. I'm an investor and I'm looking to buy houses in this area. Well, how did you find my house? By way of public record. I went down to the courthouse and I found it. Or if it's an area that you drive by every day, you can say, I was driving by and I saw the house and it looks like something I'd be interested in buying. Your reason isn't super important, but you've got to have one. Our brain is always looking for reasons. So to give them any reason, I learned about it by way of public record. I've said that to millions of sellers at this point, and never has someone said, what do you mean public record? You know, people just assume, okay, that's public information. You went and got it. The other thing is, my general gist on that first call is just to make sure that the seller is interested in selling. I'm not going to go and, talking to them for an hour if they're not interested in selling their house for a cash offer. So my initial sort of intent when I call a homeowner is introduce myself, try to start building, initial rapport, and say, are you interested in a cash offer on your property? And if so, then I'll go do my due diligence and see what I could offer and call them back and do all that. But there's some little nuggets that hopefully help you out, Johnny, Cam. I don't know if you have anything to add, but it's a great question.
I think you covered it pretty well.
Cool.
All right. I got one here from Angel. It says, I've heard your trifecta presentation again, and it clearly explained it. However, there was a lot of information that was hard to remember while learning to use the tools. Question, are tutorials placed for each part of the trifecta? So if you are a trifecta client, then you already know we've got tutorial videos all throughout every aspect of it. And you also know that my client support team is available to you from 8:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night Eastern time, to help you with any question you may have about optimizing, utilizing those tools. Angel goes on to say, a couple of weeks ago, I felt lost and could not access the help I needed. Clearly, he didn't look hard enough, or he didn't pick up the phone or do a live chat, and that's okay, Angel. I'm not here to knock you. But the last thing you said here, you might not like my response, okay? Out of frustration, I quit, even though I saw its potential. What say ye? By the way, let me take the risk of answering a question with your question, or answering your question with a question which my mother told me is rude. Do you think, Angel, that there has ever been points in time in this business as a real estate investor where I thought I might quit? Do you think that's ever gone through my head? Oh, and has it ever? Particularly in the beginning. And in fact, if you've ever been to the Rapid Results Investor Summit, you've heard me tell the story about a headhunter. I left the printing advertising business and the headhunter that I almost went headhunting for, and nearly caused me to quit the business because he almost turned my wife against me. Thankfully, that didn't happen. I can't begin to express how thankful I am today that I never quit. And what I've discovered, I read your question earlier. I gave it some thought. I thought about me. I thought about you. And I'm here to tell you right now that had I ever quit this business, I wouldn't be standing in front of you right now, and I wouldn't be in the position I'm in right now. Now, it's taken a lot of work and energy, and I've made great sacrifices. And anybody who calls me lucky, I want to choke, because I think I don't like that. Luck is simply when opportunity meets preparedness. And that's what makes you and me lucky. And what other people see as luck is sort of a put down. I don't like that. When someone says I'm lucky, I say, do you think I was lucky when I missed my daughter's birthday for the 3rd time, or the dance recital I missed, or the thing my wife needed me to do that I couldn't because I was so busy working? But I can say this: if I had ever quit, I would not be standing in front of you right now or in the position I'm in. It's been a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice along the way. Make no mistake about it. You're saying you quit. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of to the depth of which you've quit. Maybe you just, maybe you threw your hands in the air, or maybe you've, I don't know, quit to a deeper degree. When you quit, you're a quitter. And I hope that you reconsider whatever degree to which you quit, and you come back and you unquit. Mm-hmm. And you move on with what you intended to do, because quitting is why most folks are not lucky.
Yeah. Agreed.
When opportunity meets preparedness, that's what is luck, and by my definition. So I'm glad you asked that. And I'm glad I was able to take this opportunity to challenge everyone who's watching or listening to this to not quit, not give up, because quitting is what quitters do. And being a quitter might just define one's life.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen. Sorry if I was, look.
Cam, I think one of the things too that I want to say about this is whenever I get frustrated, quitting comes from frustration typically, right? I mean, you get so frustrated that you see your only option is to quit, or you think your only option is to quit. It's false, but you think that. And listen, we've all been there with different things, whether it's the real estate business or, learning to speak another language, whatever. What I would challenge you to do, and I stole this directly from Cam after years of hearing him on stage. I'm allowed to. I'm a business partner, darn it.
Yeah, okay. You get to get away with it.
Is when I get frustrated, I've noticed that my mind will sometimes start asking why questions instead of how questions. And so I'll use how questions to get me. It's a stronger question, right? So you say all the time, instead of asking, why can't I be as successful as Cam? Why can't I do deals like that guy over there? I start saying, how can I be as successful as Cam? What is he doing that I'm not doing? How can I do this? How can I do that? And what I notice is it almost creates a to-do list of things that will get rid of my frustration, or at least help answer the unsolved problems that help me get rid of my frustration. So Angel, is that what his name was? Mm-hmm. Angel, start asking yourself how questions. And for those of you who feel frustrated right now because you've been trying something new for a while, new things aren't supposed to be easy. New things are a learning process, and part of that learning process goes ups and downs. You start asking yourself how questions, because you'll notice that you'll be able to stair step up a lot faster when you use those powerful how questions versus why questions.
So let me add one quick thought to that.
Yep.
And thanks for stealing that from me. I have a book that's about to come out, but I think that actually there's another book in me on that subject. The difference between asking yourself questions to start with why and asking yourself questions to start with how. The last final thought on that right for now is that when you ask why questions, why can't I? Why won't it? Why does he? Why aren't I? Why won't, that kind of stuff. You empower your mind, your subconscious mind, to make an excuse.
Yeah.
When you ask how questions, how can I? How does he? How will it? How, how, you empower your subconscious mind to find an answer. And it's your subconscious mind will find an excuse like that. I'm too much this. I'm. And either way, your subconscious mind is grinding away while you're awake, while you're asleep, and it's either working for you or against you. And you need to train it to work for you. And one of the best ways you can is to ask yourself how questions.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Okay. Got a question here from Douglas. Says, I have a friend in Canada. He virtually invests in real estate in Texas and Florida. How does someone go about doing this? Well, we have clients in Canada that are buying and selling houses in the U.S. all the time. In fact, I can think of one off the top of my head that's got several deals going right now. One a rehab that he's never even seen. And look,
you couldn't be farther away from him in the country either. It's like all the way down to the tip of Florida.
Yeah, and he's all the way over here in Canada. Yeah. And by the way, I will add to that, and maybe you're watching. We were together in Florida, Josh, he and I, at our mentorship retreat that was just a few weeks ago in Orlando, and we were playing golf, and we invited him to join us. He's a student, and we know him, and so we thought, yes, well, let's invite him to play golf with us. So we did. While we were there playing golf, we were like, I don't know, an hour and a half from this house that he's rehabbing that he's never seen. Do you know how high a priority it was for him to go there and see that house? It wasn't at all. He didn't even go. And I thought, dang. Now, look, virtual rehabbing is not for everyone. He's not a beginner. He's one of our mentorship students, and he's been around for a couple of years. He's done a lot of deals, and he's built confidence, and he's not a beginner. So I'm not standing here advocating virtual rehabs until you're good and ready for that. In fact, some people will tell you really shouldn't do that. But virtual wholesaling is simple as it gets. And so when you have the tools like those we offer, so you know where the motivated sellers are, you know where the buyers are, you have the data you need to make offers and sell those houses. Really, the only thing you're missing is some boots on the ground in that market. And that could be a realtor or a bird dog or both. And so they can be your sort of eyes and ears. You use FaceTime, right? So maybe your bird dog takes you on a FaceTime tour through the house, and you see it as closely as you need to. And you know what the best part about a FaceTime tour is? You don't have to smell it. I'll tell you what, some of the best deals I've ever done smelled so bad I couldn't get people to even come off the sidewalk, let alone go in the door. Right. So, having the right information and some boots on the ground and a little tenacity, a little confidence. When I first got started in this business, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anything like you guys have available to you, but I did have a mantra. Some of you have heard me, I'm kind of a positive affirmation guy. I have one, I deserve to be healthy, wealthy, and happy. You're welcome to steal that, by the way. You can write that down. I deserve to be healthy, wealthy, and happy. I've been saying that to myself for 30 years. And I am. Imagine that. I had one back when I first started, when I'd find myself where my confidence would start to wane a little, or I'd be in a situation where I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. You know what I used to say to myself? Fake it till you make it. That was my mantra. And I would say it like I'd go into the bathroom or I'd get in my car and I wouldn't think it. I'd say it and I'd clench my arm and my fist and I'd say, fake it till you make it. And I would say that to myself. Does that make me weird? Well, maybe by some measures, I don't know, but it worked. And so if you've got a little chutzpah, a little fake it till you make it in you, good. And if you don't, go find it because it's in there. Go get it. It's in you. Just go find it and pull it out. And my last comment, and Josh, you're welcome to jump in after this. You have a friend in Canada who's already doing it. And believe me, it's harder to do from Canada in the US than it is from the US to the US. You've got international complications and stuff going on if you're in Canada. You mentioned that he's in Canada. You're not, I presume. That makes it even easier for you. So talk to your friend about it. Ask him, how he's done it. You've got a resource right there. Take advantage of that.
Absolutely. I think I had a few other questions that sort of related to this in terms of being a virtual investor. One of the questions I'm looking at now from Sydney asked specifically if we could go through some criteria for choosing a virtual market. And I've heard you talk about this some, so I figured I'd tee it up for you. I know one of the ones that you've sort of harped on for years is pick markets that you have other reasons to be in. Maybe your mom lives in, South Florida, so you start looking in South Florida, or you absolutely love some ski mountain in Colorado, so you pick a town near there because it gives you an excuse to be out there. And
A
if you
tax
have a passion
deductible
or
one.
a family member, yeah, exactly. So I think that's a good first criteria. What other things are you seeing right now, Cam, especially in light of where we're at in the market, that you might be looking for virtually?
Well, there's some macroeconomics that play into it, and there's some microeconomics as well. So what I've been telling folks is if you go online and you read the Milken Best Performing Cities report, which you can Google, Milken, M-I-L-K-I-N, I think it's Michael Milken, who got in big trouble years ago. That'll tell you, in my opinion, for right now, what I've been telling folks is those are the cities not to go to. Don't go there. They're super uber competitive. So if you're looking where not to go, look at the Milken report. Now I'm going to start, if you're someone who's been around me for a while, you're going to start hearing some of my messaging changing with the market. For example, it would depend on, what your intended exit strategy is. So if you're going to wholesale houses, any market would do, but I would want to look for one where there's an abundance of cash buyers. So for example, where I'm standing right now, if I were to drive 5 minutes that way or 5 minutes that way, they are not good wholesale markets because there are very few cash buyers around me right now. Very few. However, in other parts of upstate New York, there's tons of cash buyers in other states and other areas. So a good criteria for wholesaling is to look, and you can use assuming you have the cash buyer data feed available to you, go to the heat maps and go to where you're thinking you're interested in because your kid lives there, goes to school there, your mom lives there, it's a ski resort like Josh said, or you love to fly fish and you want to be near this river, and go there and look at the heat map for that county and maybe the surrounding counties, and you'll get a sense for whether there are, for one thing, and if so, where the cash buyers are buying. And that will help guide you. Now, from a considering it in terms of exit strategy, if your intent is to rehab, okay, virtually, I hope you're advanced in the business and you're, plan to go there periodically, or you have someone you can send there, move there, whatever, who's your trusted, project manager, say, or you hire a project manager in that market. So now you're rehabbing for retail. Now I'm going to be looking at markets that are especially affordable, where workforce housing is there's a shortage. And that's, that is a thing right now. Workforce housing, there is a shortage of it. And affordable housing, although that is likely to change because, like the stock market, I think much of residential real estate has reached the point of unsustainable pricing. I mean, the stock market at 30, 40, 50, 75 PE ratios, please. How long could that go on? Or entry-level houses that are $800,000, please. How long can that go on? So, I think that's going to start to change. And I don't know that, but I think it will. And that will help you to choose markets. If, for example, you want to rehab, if you're wholesaling, you can do it anywhere. It doesn't matter because, as long as there's cash buyers there. Rehabbing, now you're going to the retail and user buyer. You might say, well, if I'm wholesaling, my buyer's going there. Not necessarily. They might be rehabbing for rental. But if your end user is a retail buyer, or who you're going to sell this house to is a retail buyer, you need to make sure that those retail buyers are in a healthy environment where there are jobs and, there is free flowing financing available to them. In many of these markets, the Fed or FHA HUD has to keep raising their minimums because you can't use FHA for a mortgage in a lot of markets because the houses are too expensive. Yeah. So that's a consideration. Now, if you're going to buy and hold, today, I would be buying and holding in markets where you have a 1% rent to value ratio, right? Rent to value ratio. And that's simply, just to keep the numbers super simple, and they may not apply to where you live, but just follow me on this. if the house has 100 is your basis in the house. If you buy it and you rehab it, or you buy it and it's in good shape and you're in it for 100 grand, your basis is 100 grand. And it needs to rent for $1,000. That's a 1% ratio. If it rents for 1,200, great. That's a 1.2% ratio. If it rents for 800, that's a 0.8 rent ratio. So if you're looking to buy rental real estate right now, and there's an awful lot of financing out there, private lenders are, every time they lower the rates, private lenders become more desperate to find you.
Yeah.
So do that in markets where you can get the cash flow you need. So what in fact, what you're buying is that stream of cash flow. Okay. And where they're, you know, and obviously you want competent property management to handle that for you, because that's not the best use of your time. Now, a year from now, 18 months from now, you want to buy and hold, you want to buy for rentals. I'll tell you where I'm going to be buying at that point. It is in the cyclical markets, now that they've come down, and I'm going to buy and ride it back up. So for example, in South Florida, I sold a large portfolio of rental properties in 2006, 2004, 5, and 6. I sold the last ones in 2006. Granted, if I'd waited one more year, I would have done better, right? But I did really well. And then the market went, and in 2010, I literally started buying houses in the same exact town for what I was paying for them in the 90s, the early 90s, and wrote it up again. And now I've been selling those for the last 18 months, the last one of which, literally the last one, is under contract right now. And I'm hoping it closes. I expect it to, but you know, Corona, who knows? What am I going to do once the market corrects and prices come back to some semblance of normalcy? And am I ever going to know where the bottom is? No, I don't pick the top and the bottom. I just go with my gut, and I'm going to start buying right back into that same town. Why not? I'm going to ride it up again. And then if I live long enough, I'm going to wait and I'm going to sell once my gut starts hollering at me, and I'm going to let it crash, and I'll buy them in the same town, and I'll do it again. And so who knows, you know, I figure I got, I don't know, at least a couple more cycles ahead of me before I'm, worm food. So anyway, Josh, sorry, I'm rambling.
Yeah,
I'm so good at it.
Yeah, I think that was great. A bunch of good nuggets there for picking the market. And I think, you know, essentially there is no perfect market for every person, but there's a good market for you that you can make a lot of money in. So just, you know, do your research. If you don't have a membership to Motivated Seller Data Feed or Cash Buyer Data Feed, you know, where you can go, like Cam said, look at the cash buyers. One of the cool things you can do with the Motivated Seller Data Feed is you can use the heat maps to look at where the opportunities are in an area, and then opportunities mean where the motivated sellers are. And then you can compare that through what we call heat map stacking. You can compare that to where the buyers of those opportunities are. And if I'm, you know, brand new to a market and thinking where might the good areas be, I'm going to look where those two things converge, you know, where they create little honey holes of opportunity for you as an investor. And that's where I'm going to target first. So pick 3 or 4 areas. If you're looking to go virtual, get inside the system and start doing some research and figure out which ones make you feel like those are the best opportunities. And then with tools like the Motivated Seller Data Feed, you can start calling right away from your house without having to leave and start building relationships with those sellers, or turn your VA teams onto them and start figuring that out too. So a lot of opportunity out there right now. And I don't want anyone to get too focused on finding the perfect market, because perfect is absolutely the enemy of done. And so.
Did you hear that?
Stole that too.
Say it again, Josh.
Perfect is the enemy of done.
There's a nugget. Perfect is the enemy of done. I have to say that to myself now and then. All right, Daryl, you're up. Daryl apparently is from Oklahoma, and I won't read everything he's wrote, but apparently Oklahoma has, days ago, there's a new bill in Oklahoma that passed in the House of Representatives unanimously by a long shot, and is now going before the Senate. And assuming it passes the Senate and gets signed into law by the governor, it'll be basically the identical law that went into effect in Illinois. and it relates to wholesaling. So basically, it affects your ability to do an assignment either with a realtor representing you or without yourself being a licensed real estate agent. It happened in Illinois, and I've been saying ever since that happened that, you know, uh, lawmakers tend to be copycats, and so do state real estate boards, state boards of real estate. Okay, so I'm very cynical, maybe to a fault sometimes, but my belief is that in Illinois, it was the Illinois Board of Realtors that lobbied and probably provided significant campaign financing donations to a few lawmakers in Illinois, one who sponsored a bill and then pushed the bill and eventually got it to law that makes whole aspects of wholesaling require you to have a real estate license in the state of Illinois. And in particular, as I read the law, it applies to assignments. So when we wholesale houses, there's really two ways to close them. We can do an assignment where I basically I get a contract from my seller, and now you're my buyer. I sell it to you, and then the fee you pay me for that, I walk away. That's an assignment. And I do that with a document called assignment of contract. So you pay me for the assignment and the contract itself. Now you step in as my assignee as the buyer. This is affecting that. So in Illinois, can't do that anymore unless you're a licensed realtor. You can go get your license, which isn't a bad thing. I don't want it. Or you could find a realtor to represent you in that transaction for some fee, some amount of money. And, you know, I would think that might be more expensive now than it will be, say, a year or two from now, where, you know, a realtor will do that for a flat $250. You can get flat fee listings in any market right now for $250 to $500. So, and the reason why my belief, the Board of Realtors in Illinois would press for that is because realtors in general, the entire concept is being bombarded from every angle, and they're just sort of trying to punch their way out of a trap. I mean, if you look at Zillow and Redfin and other iBuyers, and I want to get to that, make sure we talk about iBuyers. They're hurting on realtors and effectively trying desperately to make them irrelevant. You know, I saw an ad just this morning. It was, we'll list your house for 2%. And I thought, there's realtors reacting to what's going on. They're being flexible, but they're punching down and they're punching up. They're flailing because they don't know what to do. Well, clearly Oklahoma looked at Illinois, the Oklahoma Board of Realtors, I presume, and has done the same thing. So what does that mean? It means that we just use a simultaneous closing and our no-fee funding. So here's the thing that I think is going to keep you from getting into this sort of fray. If you clearly have the intent to buy and sell real estate, I think you're in a good place. And if you have the means to buy and sell real estate, you're in a good place. And then when you do, if you close when you purchase it and you close when you sell it, well, there was the means, the intent, and all culminating into a transaction. And when we fund your deal, you close with our funds, the purchase, and then you sell and your buyer closes with their funds. And that is truly what real estate investing is all about, buying and selling real estate. Now, an assignment on its face, you might say, well, you know, shouldn't require you to have a license, pardon me, because you're a party to the transaction. You are the buyer on the contract. Yeah, but you know what? Look, here's what brokerage really is. When you put a buyer and a seller together and get paid a fee when that transaction successfully closes, well, if you're doing assignments, you're putting a seller and a buyer together and getting paid a fee. It starts to sound a little bit like brokerage. So I could see where they're seeing that as a gray area. And I think, frankly, assignments are going to continue to come under scrutiny in other states. So use our no-fee funding and close when you buy and close when you sell. Buy and sell real estate. That's what we do. Now, Daryl went on to say that he's new to the business. He's feeling a little shaky. I'm sort of picking little bits out of his, I don't want to read the whole thing because it's long, but I'm feeling a little shaky with my approach because of the coronavirus, shutting places down and shutting people in. I know virtual would be ideal, but how can I have boots on the ground if everyone is told to stay home and stay in? Oh, that's a little tricky right now, but I don't expect that to last very long.
Right.
Weeks, you know? I mean, they're talking, you know, I got to give Trump credit for being optimistic. He's got Easter in mind. And meanwhile, Fauci's saying, well, you know, slow down there a little bit there, big guy. You know, so, you know, how long? I don't know, but it's certainly not long term. I think what's long term is the effects of the economic effects of this are going to be very long term. But actually, you know, how long we're shut in, I think is literally a matter of weeks. So look at that as a great time to really, you know, polish, you know, to sharpen the axe. Now's a good time if you're shut in or people in the market where you're doing business are shut in. Now's a time to sharpen the axe. You know, study up, look at the data, call sellers. You're allowed to do that.
Yep.
And, you know, use this time wisely, understanding and knowing full well it's short-lived. So that was that. And then he said, and do you think a lot of shady wholesalers will be trying to take advantage of people in panic to sell, making it hard to gain the trust of sellers with no person to contact? So here's the thing. So I read this and I was thinking, what is a shady wholesaler? I mean, you know, I don't even like the term because I don't like what it implies. But to me, what makes a real estate investor shady is when they don't do what they said they would do.
Right.
They don't close. So if I'm a seller and you come to me, Daryl, and you say, I'll buy your house for this. And I say, okay, good, perfect. I'm happy to sell it for that. And, you know, we have a 30-day contract and 30 days goes by and you don't close. Now I don't like you. In fact, don't ever talk to me again. That's shady. Or the other side of that is if I'm a wholesaler, I have a house under contract and you, Daryl, agree to buy it from me. You're the rehabber or the landlord. And then you don't close, you don't do what you said you would do. Well, then I'm probably never going to do business with you again, much less speak to you again. That's what I think is shady. I think what you're talking about is, you know, they might inhibit your ability to have a personal relationship with the seller. Yeah, okay, if they get there before you and they put the house under contract and you call the seller and say, well, I've already got a guy who's buying it. Okay, fine. Well, if that doesn't work out, please give me a call. My name's Daryl. Here's my number. And then if that buyer turns out to be shady, hopefully that seller will think of me and call me. So, you know, I'm not really looking at, look, we're always going to have competition no matter what the market is doing, no matter where that pendulum is, we're going to have some competition and we're going to deal with that. And there will always be people who don't do what they said they would do.
Right.
So live with it, know it's out there and rise above it. Be the guy who does what you say you will do. And you know what? That's an early life lesson. If you don't feel like you can do what you're about to say you are going to do, say no.
Yeah.
I wrote an article about that, by the way. It's on the blog if you dig for it.
Power of no.
Yeah, the power of no. And Josh, remember when we were talking the other day about how we got to clean up the blog and do some stuff? That one stays.
Yep.
It's hard for some people they can't say no. They don't know when to say no and they say yes to everything. And then they become known for not doing what they said they would do because saying no is hard for some folks. So anyway, and finally, are title companies considered essential to run 100%, or will closings and title searches take a lot longer to finalize? Yeah, I mean, right now, I think it's pretty safe to say that closing, title company, I doubt is essential. And that, what is essential varies by state. I didn't see that on the list of essential in New York. And believe me, I've been focused on that. So, I'm sure many of them are working remotely and that's kind of hard to do, but is that going to slow the process down a little bit while we're shut in just for this very short period of time over what will be a very long story?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? We're going to live with it.
That's what I was going to say is it's a so what, because everything is slowed. Listen, if the seller has a problem with the fact that it's taken a few extra days, explain to them, the situation we're going through, it slows everything down. I'm going to need 5 more days or, but we're still on track. It's going to get done. I'm here. We're in this together, seller. And, explain that to them because everyone understands right now. I understand why the restaurant's not open. I understand why, the yard guys aren't coming out. I understand it. I'm not mad at them. We all are going through this together. So people will get it. And as just a little point of note, in South Carolina, as far as I understand it right now, they've classified many of the real estate services. So brokers are open, construction companies are working, and title insurance folks are still able to go to work in our state right now. They are an essential. They're classifying them as essential because they want to keep that stuff going. The government wants the houses to continue to be built and the work to continue to be done because they don't want a complete grinding halt to our economy. And so that's why some things like grocery stores and medical services are essential, and some other things on the financial side are essential as well. So you'd have to check in your state. I forget his name, and see if title agents and stuff are essential, because we just don't know.
In New York, unfortunately, you made a point there, Josh, that they don't want commerce to come to a grinding halt. I think in large part, if Cuomo had his way, it would.
Yeah.
Cuomo is known for and extraordinarily talented at making the people in New York feel extraordinary pain, especially in upstate New York, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole. One last thing that Daryl said. I'm new at this and my heart says, keep it up, but leap with both feet. But my mind says there are too many unknowns. So work on your mind, because your heart's right. Your mind is just, change what you're focusing on. I think you're focusing on the things to be fearful of and the things that are in your way at the moment. But focus on the opportunity and the blue sky that lies just beyond this storm that is the shut-in component of this, because the blue skies beyond that are going to be amazing and are going to present an awful lot of opportunity. There's no doubt about it. And by the way, just to remind you guys, we buy houses from people who have a problem and we help them solve that problem. That's what we are. We're problem solvers. And so there are going to be more people than there were a few weeks ago facing tough times in their life because of job losses and things like that. And they're going to end up with problem properties. And what people do when they have a problem is they sell what they can. They sell what they can live without. And in many cases, that's real estate. So great question. Great comments. Thank you for participating, Daryl. And by the way, once again, I hope I haven't been able to focus on it as much as I hope. But clearly, we're on Facebook Live here. I hope you're putting your comments and your likes and stuff in there. We'd love to see that. And if you happen to be watching this, the replay of this that's on the blog, we want to get your comments there under the blog post. Please do
share that stuff with us, because again, the more feedback you get, if some of our answers or conversation sparks more questions, put them down there or email them to comments@realestatewealthnetwork.com, and we will make sure that we address those questions in upcoming sessions.
Yeah, and we do plan to do this on a weekly basis. So, barring something making that impossible, you can expect to see us do this on a weekly basis for the time being.
Cam, I wanted to, before we jump to the next question, just say one thing to the gentleman who was just asking the question about, being a little fearful of jumping in. And one of the things that I've been telling some friends who've been asking me, what do you think? What's going to, and I try to help solve their worry by saying this. The reason that we're in this crisis has nothing to do with, like back in 2008, the housing bubble caused a major crisis. It's a financial mismanagement and a bunch of other things that happened there. The housing situation 3 weeks ago was great in this country. A lot of people were being able to sell houses on the open market to buyers, and people were buying them, and things were going well. The economy wasn't struggling before this crisis. The economy was doing well. I mean, Trump, love him or hate him, has driven our economy to a place that I don't know if it's ever been as good as it was a month ago. And so those things should give you some confidence that once we can get out of our house again, we're moving, people are going to be buying things. People are going to be doing things. They're going to need to earn. They're going to need to sell. They're going to need to do things again. So it's not like it's going to come back to where it was, but it will resume, and this little momentary pause will pass. So, just remember, the last time there was a problem with the housing system, it was a huge crush, and a lot of people lost a lot of money because of that. That's not why we're here today. We're here today because of a health crisis, not because of a real estate crisis. So I don't know, that sort of gives me a little bit of confidence and makes me realize that, like you've been saying, and like we've been saying, and a lot of successful people have been saying, now's the time to sharpen your iron, not run in fear.
Your axe,
yeah.
I don't want a sharp iron. It's already hot.
Well, axes are made of iron. That's what I meant.
Got it. All right. All right, you're next. Do one.
So I have a question that I pulled up a few minutes ago. This is from Michael. How does the iBuyer situation with Zillow, Open Door, Knock, real estate brokerage firms, etc., affect the real estate business? Is it monopolizing the motivated sellers out there? That's the gist of the question.
I have some comments on that when you're ready.
So yeah, fire away. I figured I knew that you wanted to talk about this, so I pulled it up.
Right. So a couple things on iBuyers, like Open Door, Knock, OfferPad, Zillow offers. And what's the big hedge fund? Is it BlackRock or
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think it's BlackRock or Blackstone. They're different.
Yeah.
Forgive me for not having that straight in my head, but one of the things that a couple thoughts on this. A few weeks ago, I do a ton of reading about economics and real estate, and I consume a lot of that just because it interests me and I enjoy it. And I read that. Do me a favor, Josh. Google that for me. Who's the big buyer there? Is it BlackRock or Blackstone? I want to be able to say it with some amount of authority. I feel like a boob right now. But anyway, they have been slowly and very quietly selling a lot of those houses that they've acquired. Remember back in 2012 or 13, when the whole concept of this iBuyer came up, it kind of started in Tampa. Tampa was sort of ground zero where they started buying a whole bunch of houses to hold, and some of them fix and hold, but to hold as rentals. And they have quietly been selling now for quite a while. And what that tells me is they saw some sort of a correction coming, a reset, if you will. And so that was telling whatever it was 3-4 weeks ago. Then yesterday I was poking around on their websites, and I literally saw where Open Door, OfferPad, and Zillow offers are all on pause. They're stating that right on their websites that they're no longer buying. They have stopped buying houses. Now, for how long? I don't know, but I suspect for quite a while. In particular, these big, the buy, fix, and sell and by the way, iBuyer That to me means institutional buyer.
Yeah.
Josh, am I breaking up? Do you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay, good. Did you get that answer for me by chance?
So not really.
Okay.
Both BlackRock and Blackstone are both buying properties like crazy.
Okay.
BlackRock is largest. It's largest in the world with 7.4 trillion in assets under management.
Right. So I was saying the iBuyers who buy, fix, and sell, and there are some out there, including Zillow is one of them, and then some buy and hold. When the market corrects, they're going to get stuck. Like a lot of hard money lenders and lenders in general are going to get stuck because they've got money out on houses that are now worth much less than what was paid for them. In fact, in the crash of 2008, I knew at the time, and I still know him, one of the bigger hard money lenders in the U.S. out of Philadelphia. When the market corrected, he literally went from a hard money lender to an asset manager. So to protect his lenders, and because they took the houses back from the borrowers, the rehabbers gave them back, and they ended up finishing the rehab, putting tenants in it, and holding on to them for years, and hoping that the values would come back. And he did that to protect his lenders. That's what a good lender does for his, the folks who made his business possible. And I've always given him a lot of credit for that. His name is Bob Beckman, by the way. I have an enormous amount of respect for him. Josh saw it too, evidence that other hard money lenders have pulled back. They're literally turning off the spigot. They're no longer interested in borrowers because they're stopping lending. This happened more or less since the coronavirus has become a thing. So when iBuyers are quietly selling in the background or overtly post on their websites that they are no longer buying, that tells me that this is not a drill. This is not a temporary situation here. The coronavirus being shut in is certainly temporary, but the rest of the story that's yet to play out is becoming more and more clear to me based on little tidbits of evidence like that, those iBuyers no longer buying. So did that address that well enough, or you got more on that, Josh?
I think that was good enough. I mean, at the end of the day, before the iBuyers were on pause, the way to compete with them was to insert humanity into the situation. You can be the local person who knows the market and knows the people and helps the folks, or you can be, anything in between that and an institution. Lots of folks don't like doing work with the institutions. So that, even back in that time, competing with iBuyers was possible. Yes, they had a lot of deep pockets, but they didn't have an understanding of the market that you might. They don't have an understanding of the people and the foot on the ground that you do. So you could use that to your advantage too. I do have another question here. This is from P. I don't know what P stands for, but I won't say his last name just to protect him. It says, thanks for the session, and I'll be looking forward to it. Here's my question. How aggressive or fast should we be in speaking to motivated sellers? I don't want to seem like a vulture. And you'd said this question earlier, like you said, shady motivated or shady wholesaler, and it made me think of this question. And he said specifically, I don't want to seem like a vulture profiting on someone when they're down, especially now with our new normal, whatever that is. And so I wanted to address that, and I'm sure you might have some thoughts on that as well. But, the difference between someone being a vulture and being a stand-up guy is what exactly? If I called and said and threatened someone to sell to me because they have to sell now, I guess I'm a vulture. But that strategy has never worked with me. I've never been comfortable with doing anything like that. I've always been more on the team of the seller. Hey, my name's Josh. I'm a local investor. Here's what I do. I was wondering if you'd be interested in selling. Why would I want to sell to you? Well, we help people in all types of situations. I help them with a problem. And Cam said this earlier, we're problem solvers. You have a problem house or a bill or debt that you need out of, and what I can do is help you. In my opinion, there's nothing vulture-y about that. If you're nervous of a seller thinking you're being a vulture calling right now, I think it's because you lack confidence in calling sellers right now, most likely. But call them and say, hey, listen, I know you're stuck in your house just like me, and uh, but I wanted to give you a call. Figured now's the best time as ever to give you a call and get to know you and see if you'd be willing to sell and have those conversations and be a person, or just be a real person with them. But how aggressive or fast should you be? I think you should be calling sellers right now. I don't think you should be waiting. I think your competition's waiting. Again, we talked about this to come full circle earlier in this training. Your competition's pulled back. You're going to push forward. And you're going to be on the phone talking to people, building those relationships. You're going to have people say, yeah, make me cash offers. You'll have to make them and say, of course, that is contingent on me getting out there at some point when I'm allowed to get out there, or when I can get someone out there, but that's okay. Continue to move forward. It's not like they can sell to anybody else right now either. If you can't get to the house because of some order, neither can anybody else. Maybe they have an iPhone. There's lots of creative ways to work around seeing the property. But don't wait. Get out there, start calling, get out there, virtually, start calling people, get on the phone, and just explain, say, I don't want you to think I'm a vulture. I'm just calling to talk to you if you're really that nervous. A lot of people are going to have weird responses to that, but if it makes you feel better, it'd be better to do that than do nothing. Cam, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Well, if you feel like helping someone to solve a problem makes you a vulture, I think you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
Because there are an awful lot of people in this world who help solve people's problems who are not vultures, and who are highly compensated for that.
Yeah.
The point is, the seller isn't going to sell if they're unwilling to sell, and you're not going to buy if you can't buy at a price that makes sense to you. And if you don't come together, then that means it wasn't meant to be. And if you do come together, then it was, and you're helping solve their problem.
Yeah.
If you have an ethical issue with the idea of buying someone's house and solving their problem, I think you need to find something else to do. I'll leave it at that.
And I think this always, we at our live events that we do a session where Cam and I get up and call Motivated Sellers live in front of the whole room. We have it on speakerphone, and you never know what people are going to say live on speakerphone in front of a room of 100 people, but it sometimes can be crazy.
Yeah.
And funny. But I do those, and a lot of the questions we get from the crowd is, what if they tell you off? And what if they yell at you? Or what if they hang up on you? And my answer is, then next. Then they weren't motivated. And so if I called someone up right now and said, can I buy your house? And they said, you vulture, guess what? They're not motivated. And that's so, okay. I don't need to talk to unmotivated people. I need to talk to motivated people. So I just apologize. If that makes them feel better, makes you feel better, I'm so sorry. Have a good day. Take them off your list. Call the next person. Because a doctor who walks up on someone who has a gunshot wound and says, can I help you with that gunshot wound? The person goes, yes, please. Thank you so much for being here at the perfect time. That's a motivated person. If a doctor comes up to me, sees me on the street, and just tries to talk me into some, facial plastic surgery out of nowhere, I might go, get out of here, man, and give him a negative response because I'm not motivated for that.
That's right? A pretty darn good analogy, man. I gotta hand it to you. That's a good analogy.
Really I get one a day.
Well, that one didn't go to waste. That's awesome. Yeah. So, enough said on that. So here's another question. This one, when I saw it, I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't answer this, or maybe I should.
No.
This one's from Joel. Joel, I hope you're watching. And the rest of you guys, I'll be very interested in your comments on this one. Joel says, how come you charge a lot of money for your presentations? Generally, my presentations are free, but I think I know what you mean, Joel. Most people can't afford that $999 amount. If you're talking about trifecta, it's $1,497. Why don't you do something to really help people and not just steal their money? Please answer to that. Here's one thing I know for sure. When you put yourself out there, there's always people that are going to look to tear you down. And one of the things that I've come to grips with over the years is folks who, um, you know, tear me down. And I think, I think, Joel, it's a fair question. I'm glad you asked it. I hope you're hearing and you're hearing my answer. Why do we charge $1,497 for Trifecta? Well, let me give you a couple of reasons. Would you be interested to know that on data and related tech stack tools that we pay for in order to provide those tools cost us about $1 million a year? Would that be interesting to you? Would it also be interesting to know that my payroll costs me about $1.5 million a year? Is that interesting to you? And then all the other overhead that I am responsible for. I'd love to give away what we provide. It would bring me great joy, but until Bill Gates or Bezos adopt me as their son and provide me with unlimited billions of dollars, I can't do that. However, what I can do is take the risk of spending that kind of money and provide and create and provide tools, perfect them, create new ones for folks who see the value in them.
Yep.
And Joel, if you don't see the value in the program, I understand that. Not everyone does. But to presume that I don't give of my time and of my resources, in fact, why don't you do something to really help people, not just steal their money? To ask that, that's a question. I think speaks volumes of where your head is at.
Yeah.
And I hope that somehow I can help you find a better place, because as Zig Ziglar would say, I think you might be a victim of stinking thinking right now. And listen, I'm trying to be your friend here, but I'm also trying to be honest. How about the funding that we provide? We don't charge you for that. There are no fees whatsoever on the funding we provide as part of our Trifecta program. I've got a team of people that I pay every 2 weeks, including this Friday or whenever. Payroll processes today in my office. It gets paid on the 31st to facilitate that funding, to work with you, to work with your closing agent, do everything in our power to see to it that that deal comes through, and we charge you no fees for that. None. Right. Does that count? How about the time I'm spending right now? I didn't charge anything for this, and my time is extraordinarily valuable, as I hope you might expect. How about the things that I do in my personal life that are altruistic that I'm not going to get into right now? Listen, man, I appreciate your question, and I appreciate you. I hope you're here, and I hope to gosh that I can be the guy to help you rise out of the place you're at, where a question like that would be on the top of your mind. I really hope I can be that guy. So I hope you're learning here, and I hope we're helping in some way now. All right, Josh, you're up.
I was going to say, just one little thing to add on there. I agree with you so much. I mean, we're bending over backwards to help people every day in this business. In fact, we think of our customers and you guys, the folks out there watching this right now, we think of you as family. Our mission statement is wrapped around us caring about seeing your success. And, when people ask those kind of questions, it's a shot to the gut. I know for myself, and I'm sure to Cam, the reality is some people do have stinking thinking, and we can turn our back on them. Sure, that's an option, but we tend to try to say, you know what, you're slightly misguided. And I think hopefully, whatever his name, I can't remember the person's name.
It is Joel.
Joel, I hope that you take Cam's word seriously and you find a way to fix that thinking of yours, because, You could ask our customers. I think they'd be the ones, if you guys are watching this, you post this down below. What we offer with Trifecta specifically, that's a unicorn, folks. You get $1 million of funding for a year. You get access to every tool you need to find sellers, find buyers, connect with them for a year. You get all the training you need for a year. You get all that stuff for $1,497. That's a unicorn. That's not stealing from your customers. We could charge a lot more for that, and we don't, because we've tried to figure a fair way for people to get access to that stuff. So I think we should move past this, but I just had to say that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on. And by the way, I could have deleted that question, and I didn't. And also, you mentioned it, Josh, our mission statement. This is a picture of it on our wall in my office. And most of you don't ever get a chance to hear this. Very few of you have ever heard this. So let me read it to you, and maybe it'll give you an idea of sort of the nucleus of who we are. It says, we are dedicated to providing innovative world-class products and superior support to make a difference in our customers' lives. By seeing their successes and learning how they feel about them, we are constantly motivated to grow and improve everything we do. That right there, that's who we are. Thank you for your question, Joel. And thank me very much for not deleting it. All right. Okay, let's do, Josh, you do one more and I'll do one more, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I point this out. I think it piggybacks well off the last question. Got a lot of questions on, how can we get more support? How can we get support from your team if we need it? So I wanted to point out a couple things. One, Cam's talked about this in previous videos, but if this is the first time you're seeing us in the last week or seeing Cam, you might not have heard it, but our team is fully up and operational right now. We're 100% here for you. We are working like it's a regular day, and we're kicking butt and taking names.
And funding deals.
And funding deals, right. The business is still happening, and we're making sure that we're not skipping a beat. But if you need help from us for any reason, you can contact our client support from 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can also email us on the weekends. We have email support. And all of our email support is in-house. Right now, they're in their houses, but they're in-house and fully set up in offices that allow them to fully function and work. And you can call us at 607-527-6097. You can email support at info@realestatewealthnetwork.com. And on any one of our websites, there's always a little chat button over there on the right side or top area where you can click and you can chat with one of our live support people. And we're lucky enough within our business that we've actually set up years ago, not thinking there'd be a pandemic, but you end up using tools that could work anywhere. And we're lucky enough that a lot of our systems and processes, you could be on the top of a skyscraper. If you had internet access, you could chat support one of our customers. So we're fully up and operational and ready for you to support you. So if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us help you through this.
And I'll add to that, with regard to technical real estate transactional type questions, in terms of funding, you can give us a call and talk to our funding team.
Yep.
But if you've got a specific question about a real estate deal, our client support team is really not qualified to answer that. However, we do have a resource for that, which many of you have available to you. It's called the Inner Circle. And you'll find that at realestatewealthnetwork.com. But if you're a Trifecta client, that you got a year of the Inner Circle included with that, which gives you access to me twice a month through the Dealmaker webinars and access to me and my team through our intranet. So when you're logged into the dashboard and then the Inner Circle, you can ask a question, and we're answering those questions through the intranet. It's like an internal email, if you will, on a daily basis. So we provide that sort of technical deal ground level support as well, again, through the Inner Circle. And if you're a Trifecta customer, you're probably aware of that. Although some folks have Trifecta and they forget that they have that available to them. And we'll remind you if you talk to our client support team, but let me remind you now as well. Okay. So, all right, let's take one more here. Let's see.
Okay.
I know the one I wanted to was, and by the way, again, if we didn't get to your question, please don't be offended by that. We will save the ones we didn't get to and do our best to get to them at the, on our next strategy lab. But
I've seen multiple come in while we've been doing this, Cam, by the way. So
yeah, I'm not surprised.
they're going to keep rolling, but we will get to as many as we can as time permits.
Right on. Okay, this is from Lean. No, sorry, forgive me. This is from, well, it's even harder to pronounce. YSH. Yeesh. I hope I said that right.
Yeah, sounds great.
Would it be a good idea now to go to the municipality in your desired district, meaning the area you want to do business, to request a list of nuisance properties? Like code violation type properties, I think is what Yeesh is referring to. I think it's always a good time to go to your local code enforcement office and ask for a list of houses that are under code enforcement. That is technically a matter of public record, although you may find in some cases where the code enforcement people are, they kind of think, well, that's, we don't share that. Well,
Right.
technically it is a matter of public record. But that is a great resource because, if you own a house and you live 1,000 miles away and it's vacant and your lawn guy, you can't, you don't have the money, you don't have the ability to cut the lawn, to do the repairs, to do the minor things that code enforcement require, you're in a jam and you are in need of help. And that is exactly what we provide. And so that is a great resource. It's a good question. I would say now is a good time. Anytime is a good time to be talking to your code enforcement department at your local county annex and asking them for a list of those properties.
Yep.
Great question. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. Again, we will be doing these Real Estate Wealth Network strategy labs on a weekly basis for the time being. Just as a way of helping out and putting it out there and providing you with, our thinking and helping you with your thinking and questions and all of that. Remember, the email is comments, COMMENTS, at realestatewealthnetwork.com. If you get that, if you have a question or a comment that you'd like us to do our best to address on the next strategy lab, that's the email address to send it to. Maybe something comes to mind, over the next few days, pop it in there and we'll do our very best to respond to that. We did get to a lot of the questions and comments that we got. We didn't get to all of them. And if we didn't get to yours, please, again, don't be offended by that. It's just a matter of us running out of time and frankly, our capacity. So keep them coming. And we'll keep aggregating them. So again, if you ask a question that several other people have asked something similar, that helps us to sort of consolidate and be efficient. So we appreciate your input, your involvement. Thank you for watching this. Please leave a comment below and we'll catch you later. Josh, you got anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, I had a lot of fun. Hopefully we answered some of your questions and helped you. And if you have other questions, again, comment below, send email to comments@Real Estate Wealth Network, and stay healthy. We'll see you next week.
Stay healthy. Do what they're asking you to do. I am, and I'm as cynical and radical, if you want to say. I'm the guy who should be sneaking out of his house and he's not. So if I can endure this, I bet you can too. Stay healthy. Enjoy the time with your family, and we'll talk to you soon. See you on the next Strategy Lab. Take care.
Bye, guys.